Well, hello! I am here for a hack it session. One of my favorite things in sewing is hacking a pattern and making it whatever I want it to be. So this is a super fun feathered fabric. I have sewn up it into a, what did I make? Pumpkin spice dolman in a different colorway, but this one, I want to make a vest. It reminds me of snow and I just feel like it could be a warm, fun addition. So how am I going to do that? I am going to use one of my go-to patterns, which is the Made for Mermaids Mama Darcey. Now, this pattern already has a vest option. Step one, makes it easier. So why do I need to hack it? Well, I decided that I don't really want to have a front band on this pattern. Let me show you what it looks like with a front band. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to widen the front panels of the vest piece, and then I will just turn and hem it. Makes it a lot easier. It's an extra step at the beginning, but then in the end, it'll be easier to do. So the whole thing will be finished with a hem. The instructions on this pattern already have you hemming the arm side to make it the vest, as well as hemming the bottom. So now we're just going to hem the arm side, the front, and the bottom. No big deal. So the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out your pattern piece changes. Let me change this so that you can see what I'm working at on the table. Alrighty, so here I am with the Mama Darcey. Mine's pretty cut up because I've used quite a few different variations of this pattern over the last few years since it came out in 2017. One thing to note is that, as I said, there is a vest and a regular sleeved cut line. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have cut out the vest arm side. It is going to be a little shallower for you, which is ideal. So that includes a 1/2 inch hem for the arm side once it's constructed. The next thing you need to notice is which front you're going to be doing. Now I could add a hood onto this, but I'm going to just do the vest without the hood. So the hood would be the scoop portion. I'm going to actually follow the no hood cut line. So that'll be by turning it back like this. So this is what the top of my pattern piece is going to look like. Now, if you look at the measurements, you would be cutting a band that is 2.75 inches wide, and then you'd fold it in half, and you would add it along here to finish the front. So what we need to do is add that distance onto here when we're cutting. Now you can either create a new pattern piece to add it along here, or you can just add that as you're cutting with like a guide. I'll probably do the quick and easy way, which is just to eyeball it, or to use my trusty hem guide. And so then I can just follow that around. So the only place that I need to make an adjustment is on front of here. I need to also adjust the back neckline of the back pattern piece, because that too would normally have the band finishing it. Okay. So I just did a bunch of math and I figured this out, thinking this piece through. There's a few things you need to take into account. So this pattern piece already has a 1/2 inch seam allowance included. It thinks that it's going to be a 1/2 inch narrower because you would be serging on that front band. So in this case, I don't actually need to add a 1/2 inch hem allowance because those kind of wash out. So all I need to do is add the width of how much wider I want my front piece to be. I could leave it and just have it be a narrower hem, but I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to add 1 inch around this. So it's going to end up being 1 inch wider than the pattern piece. And then after the 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'll end up with a finished edge that's only 1/2 inch wider than this. If I had used the band, it would be about equal. So you really need to take into account that. You need to look at your seam allowance, you need to look at your hem allowance, and you need to look at your bandwidth that you're replacing. It's okay to make it wider or narrower, but if you don't intend to do that on purpose, then definitely take everything into account. So let's get this started. I'm going to make a tunic length. So I will be cutting along the tunic cut line. There are 2 tunic options. There's actually a tunic, a high-low cut line, and a duster cut line on this pattern. So make sure that you have the correct one that you're using. Now, another piece that I prefer, especially when you're doing a pattern hack, is rather than attempting to get this straight and lined up twice, I would definitely cut with my pattern pieces on overlapping. So then I only have to make this adjustment one time, and I know that it's consistently going to be right. Let's get our other stuff folded up out of the way. Now, if I went with this is going to be just right. This is extra fluffy fabric, so definitely make sure that you use a lot of pattern weights. Okay, so I have, if you look up here, I have the vest cut line for the size blue highlighted. I actually already almost did a mistake. Ooh, this would have been bad. So I was going to cut along this line. That's not the correct line to be cutting along. I need to move this over. I should be cutting along this, which is the front neckline. And that's where I will be adding my 1 inch. Okay. Another tip, definitely use a very sharp rotary cutter. So I feel like I'm pretty accurate on my eyeball here. So since I'm working with this feathered material, it is going to shed quite a bit. So another tip that I have would be to serge before you're hemming, just so that you can control any of the fuzz that you're going to have around everywhere. So I'm going to, after I've got this cut out, I'm going to serge the front neckline just because it'll stop it from fraying before I assemble it. Okay, I'll finish cutting out the front piece, do that serge on the front, and then show you what we need to adjust in the back. Okay, so now we're onto the back pattern piece. So this I have upside down. It is cut on the fold. So here is the fold of the pattern piece. It also has a cut line for the sleeves versus the sleeveless. So make sure that you're taking in the arm side to make the sleeveless version. Now, the only adjustment that we need to do on the back pattern piece is we need to also increase the 1 inch here so that it has the ability, it adds a little bit of depth along the neck, and then you can also turn and hem it. So to do that, this is where the arm side is, and this is the back of the neck. So I am just going to cut 1 inch wider along here, and then turn and do the same thing at the base of the neck. And then what will happen is I will go through and I will serge this all the way around just so that it's finished edge, and then I will end up hemming it a 1/2 inch under, so it'll be the back of the neck. Everything else on the back piece is going to be cut exactly the same. There's no other modifications that you need to do. So I'm going to finish cutting, and then I'll do the assembly and show you what's different. Okay, so to make this vest, I have 3 pieces cut now. This is the back piece that was cut on the fold. Then I have 2 front pieces that were cut mirrored. So each of the areas that will end up being hemmed, I have gone ahead and used my serger to complete the hem, to complete the edge. It's not hemmed at this point. So the bottom of each of the front panels and then across the front. So I also did that on the back of the neckline. This is just to prevent it from fraying, and it makes it a little bit easier for my cover stitch to catch the fabric when it's going over it. So the next thing we're gonna do is, like described in the tutorial for this pattern, is we're going to put right sides together at the shoulder. And then I'm going to clip these and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance the shoulders. These should match up exactly because you extended both the necklines. Another tip would be, I probably am going to add some clear elastic to the shoulder seams just because this fabric can have a heavy weight and I don't want it to be bogged down from the weight of it. And while I'm at it, I am also going to clip and serge along the side seams since this is a vest. If you were using this hack on a, and just having a hemmed front of one of these cardigans with sleeves, then instead of you would actually do the shoulder seams, then you would inset your sleeves, and then you would do the side seams. But since there's no sleeves, that's not something to worry about. Okay, go serge. Okay, I am back. Basically, I have a vest already. So if you look from this side, I have my front, my back, my side, my front other side, and I've got the 2 armholes. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I have all of my areas that are going to be hemmed serged, like I said, in white thread. I am going to do the same thing for my armholes. Okay, so a thing I did not say about using the serger around the arm side and the hems is I am not cutting anything off. This is just finishing this so it's not fraying. So make sure not to cut anything off or everything will change in fit. So the last and final thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do a 1/2 inch hem around every piece. So it's going to be around your arm side, around the front, and around the bottom. I don't know that there's a better way which one to do first. I think I will probably do the front neckline last, just so it has a little bit crisper of a finish. Yeah, so I'll take you over to my cover stitch and show you how that works. Okay, so let's talk about a few things that I've learned about this. One thing, I know that I talked a lot about serging before hemming. The reason is this is a light open weave fabric. So it prevents it from fraying after it's been used, after it's been washed and worn, but also it helped my cover stitch catch the edges so much better. If I had left that serged, it was possible that maybe my cover stitch didn't catch in certain places. This time it worked perfectly. Another thing from that fast forwarded video, you'll see that I did not at all iron my hem before I did it. I went with it. I did a 1/2 inch-ish. I'm a little bit afraid to iron this material. I don't know how it would do with an iron. I could test it before, but I just felt that it wasn't going to press well anyways, so I might as well go with it. If you're doing any other sort of fabric, totally go for doing the hem. This one is actually really forgiving because it's feathered, so you can't tell. Really nice aspect to it. This is the tunic length, so it goes just past my booty. I did end up sewing the arm side, both of those, and then I sewed the hem along here, and then I went from one end all the way back around to the end again. And I just tied my cover stitch threads in place. If you don't have a cover stitch, you can use a twin needle or a stretch stitch, but you do want to make sure it's a stretch stitch. But I'm pretty happy with this. I know that once I wash it, a little bit of this waviness that happened from hemming it will go away. That's just nature of it. It will relax it a little bit, but I feel so cozy and fresh. So I'll get some other formal pictures to throw in here to show you how it looks. But what a great sew, what an easy hack. So if you have any questions about this hack or more questions about anything that I've done today, feel free to ask below. Also, I'll throw a link to the Made for Mermaids Mama Darcey pattern in the comments, as well as a link to this feathered Hacci in the comments from Mily May as well. Have a great day. Happy sewing.